Twelfth Sunday in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the book of Job. The Lord addressed Job out of the storm and said, "Who shut within doors the sea when it burst forth from the womb, when I made the clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling bands? When I set limits for it and fastened the bar of its door, and said, 'Thus far shall you come, but no farther, and here shall your proud waves be stilled.'" The word of the Lord.
Give thanks to the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, His love is everlasting. Give thanks to the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, His love is everlasting. They who sailed the sea in ships, trading on the deep waters, these saw the works of the Lord and His wonders in the abyss. Give thanks to the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, His love is everlasting. His command raised up a storm wind, which tossed its waves on high. They mounted up to heaven, they sank to the depths. Their hearts melted away in their plight. Give thanks to the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, His love is everlasting. They cried to the Lord in their distress. From their straits He rescued them. He hushed the storm to a gentle breeze, and the billows of the sea were stilled. Give thanks to the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, His love is everlasting. They rejoiced that they were calmed, and He brought them to their desired haven. Let them give thanks to the Lord for His kindness and His wondrous deeds to the children of men. Give thanks to the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, His love is
A reading from the second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, the love of Christ impels us. Once we have come to the conviction that one died for all, therefore all have died. He indeed died for all, so that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for Him who for their sake died and was raised. Consequently, from now on, we regard no one according to the flesh. Even if we once knew Christ according to the flesh, yet now we know Him so no longer. So whoever is in Christ is a new creation. The old things have passed away. Behold, new things have come. The word of the Lord.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. On that day, as evening drew on, Jesus said to His disciples, "Let us cross to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took Jesus with them in the boat just as he was, and other boats were with him. A violent squall came up, and waves were breaking over the boat so that it was already filling up. Jesus was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. They woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Quiet, be still." The wind ceased, and there was great calm. And he asked them, "Why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith?" They were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this whom even wind and sea obey?" The Gospel of the Lord.
The 12th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The first reading comes from the book of Job, chapter 38, verse 1, and verses 8 to 11. We hear that God speaks to Job out of the storm. All throughout the book of Job, Job has been calling up to the heavens, asking God to come down and explain why he's suffering. Job realizes that he's a sinner, but he doesn't deserve all the pain that he's been going through. Finally, God does come down in a theophany, and he speaks with Job. And he asked Job, "Were you there when I fashioned the earth, when I set a limit to the seas?" The purpose of this reading is that it serves as a good parallel to the gospel reading, where Jesus will have power, authority over the seas. He'll calm the sea. The second reading is from 2 Corinthians 5, 14 to 17. We hear that Christ died for all of us, therefore we have all died. Christ gave his life out of love for us, and therefore we are called out of love for him to die to ourselves. And if we die to ourselves, then we're no longer living an earthly life, one that judges realities around us according to earthly criteria. Rather, we look upon Christ as a new creation. When he rose from the dead, he's no longer bound by the limitations of time and space or other human things. Rather, he is something new, and we have become new. Therefore, we have to live like something new. Remember, in the Bible, there are two words for new, that which is not old, and that which is radically new, something that we've never seen before. And that's what we are living in, a reality that we've never seen before, that the earth cannot even understand, but we know is in Christ. The Gospel is from Mark 4, 35 to 41. Jesus and the disciples are crossing over to the other side of the Sea of Tiberias, and on the way there's a storm. Jesus is asleep, and the disciples wake him up and they say, "Teacher, don't you care that we're perishing?" Now, in the Gospel of Luke, that's softened quite a bit. The Gospel of Mark is like the home videos, tells us just the way it happened. It's almost as if the disciples are saying, "Hey buddy, we're dying. Don't you care?" In Luke, it's much more philosophic. Jesus comes across as the great sage. It's almost as if the disciples are saying, "Master, awaken because we're perishing. Intervene with the forces of nature." Mark is probably much closer to what actually happened the day that this miracle occurred. What does Jesus do? He calms the sea. Now this has two levels of meaning. Now, first level, the superficial level, Jesus is performing a nature miracle. He has power over the forces of nature. But remember, the sea was considered a reservoir of evil. It's where the evil creatures, Leviathan and Rahab, lived. It's a reservoir of the diabolic forces. Therefore, if Jesus has authority over the sea, he also has authority over those diabolic forces. What does Jesus say to the disciples? "Don't you have faith?" In their response, who is it that even the wind and the sea obey? They don't really know who Jesus is yet. They don't really have faith. They want to believe in Jesus, but at this point, they want to believe in him as a wonder worker, somebody who will provide all of their needs. And we'll see that especially in chapters 8, 9, and 10 of Mark, where when Jesus predicts his passion, they respond inappropriately. It's only at the cross that they truly understand what Christ is calling them to surrender their entire lives and serve God. And may God bless us.